There is a 2-hour window every single night that decides more about your kidney health than almost anything you'll do all day. And it has nothing to do with medication, nothing to do with your last blood test, and nothing to do with what your doctor told you at your last appointment. It's the hour or two before you fall asleep. While you're brushing your teeth, watching the news, or scrolling on your phone, your kidneys are quietly preparing for one of the busiest shifts of their entire day. Overnight, while your body rests, your kidneys ramp up filtration, recalibrate your blood pressure, and clear out the metabolic waste your body accumulated since breakfast. And here's the part almost nobody explains to you. What you eat in that pre-bed window can either help that process along or quietly work against it. Most of what you've heard about kidney health is about subtraction. Less sodium, less potassium, less phosphorus. Cut this, avoid that, restrict the other thing. And yes, all of that matters, but there's a second half of the story that almost never gets airtime. What you can actively add to your evening routine to give your kidneys real support while they do their hardest work of the day. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through 8 fruits, every one of them recognized in kidney nutrition guidance as friendly for people managing kidney health, that deliver genuine antioxidant support, anti-inflammatory compounds, and kidney-conscious nutrition, specifically suited to nighttime eating. Before we get into it, if you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the videos I put out every week on healthy aging after 60. And I want you to do one thing for me before this video ends. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. I read every single one, and I love seeing how many time zones show up in one thread. Stick around through fruit number 8. It's the one everybody talks about online, and it's also the one almost every other video gets wrong. I'm going to give you the full, honest picture, including a catch you genuinely need to know before you eat it. I'm Dr. James Revealio, and before we get into the fruits themselves, I want to spend 2 minutes giving you the why behind everything in this video. Once you understand this, the rest of the video will click into place immediately. Your kidneys are 2 organs, each roughly the size of your fist, sitting just below your rib cage on either side of your spine. Most people picture them as simple filters, like a coffee filter for your blood. The reality is far more sophisticated. Together, your kidneys process an estimated 200 liters of blood every single day. That's around 50 gallons cycling through 2 organs smaller than your 2 hands put together. In that process, they're removing metabolic waste, clearing out excess fluid, filtering toxins, and returning clean, properly balanced blood back into your circulation. But filtration is only one job. Your kidneys are also one of the primary regulators of your blood pressure. They help control your red blood cell production, and they keep your body's mineral balance, sodium, potassium, calcium, phosphorus, within a very narrow, very specific range. That last part is where tonight's topic gets interesting. Potassium is essential. It helps your nerves fire correctly, it helps your muscles, including your heart muscle, contract properly, and your body genuinely cannot function without it. But if your kidneys are already under strain, they may lose some of their ability to clear excess potassium from your blood. When that happens, potassium can build to dangerous levels, a condition called hyperkalemia, and it's one of the more serious risks in kidney disease management. This creates what I call the central tension of kidney-friendly eating. Your kidneys benefit enormously from antioxidants and anti-inflammatory plant compounds, the kind found richly in fruit. But a lot of the fruits people reach for automatically, bananas, oranges, kiwi, cantaloupe, avocado, are also relatively high in potassium, which can make them a harder call for someone managing kidney disease. The 8 fruits in this video exist specifically at the intersection of those 2 needs. They deliver real, meaningful nutritional support, fiber, antioxidants, vitamins, anti-inflammatory plant compounds, without the potassium load that makes many other fruits a more complicated choice for someone watching their kidney health. Let's get into all 8, starting with the one most specifically suited to nighttime. Bedtime fruit number 1, Tart cherries. If I had to pick the single fruit on this list most precisely engineered, by nature, not by us, for nighttime consumption, it would be Tart cherries. And the reasoning behind that isn't hype. It's rooted in some of the more interesting nutritional science of the last decade. Tart cherries, sometimes labeled sour cherries or Montmorency cherries, contain a naturally occurring compound called phytomelatonin, a plant-based cousin of the melatonin your own brain produces to regulate your sleep-wake cycle. On top of that, they're considered a low-potassium fruit, generally falling under roughly 200 milligrams per 3.5-ounce serving, with only trace sodium and modest phosphorus content, a combination that makes them broadly appropriate across nearly every stage of kidney health management. Here's why the timing specifically matters. Your kidneys regulate blood pressure partly through a nighttime rhythm. In a healthy pattern, your blood pressure is supposed to dip during sleep, a phenomenon researchers call nocturnal dipping. When sleep is fragmented or poor quality, that dip often doesn't happen the way it should, and your kidneys end up absorbing hour after hour of elevated pressure that they were never designed to filter through overnight. Over months and years, that sustained overnight pressure is one of the quieter contributors to kidney strain. This is where Tart cherries earn their spot at the top of the list. The natural compounds inside them, plant melatonin, small amounts of serotonin and tryptophan precursors, and a family of anti-inflammatory phytochemicals, appear to support better sleep quality by calming inflammation and reducing oxidative stress in the body, with some research pointing specifically to improvements across both non-REM and REM sleep stages. In studies looking specifically at older adults dealing with insomnia, Tart cherry juice has shown meaningful reductions in insomnia severity compared to a placebo, with some of that research reporting effect sizes that hold up favorably against valerian root and certain melatonin supplement studies, two of the most commonly used natural sleep aids on the market. Better sleep supports better nighttime blood pressure regulation. Better nighttime blood pressure regulation means less overnight pressure stress running through the delicate filtering vessels inside your kidneys. That's a real, traceable chain of benefit, not a marketing leap. What to do? Half a cup to a full cup of Tart cherries, or 4 to 8 ounces of unsweetened Tart cherry juice, 30 to 60 minutes before bed. Look specifically for sour or Montmorency varieties. Sweet cherries are a different fruit nutritionally, sit in a higher potassium category, and aren't a direct substitute here. Bedtime fruit number 2, blueberries. Fruit number 2 might be the most studied superfood in modern nutrition science, and it happens to line up almost perfectly with what kidneys specifically need. Blueberries bring fiber, vitamin C, vitamin K, and a dense concentration of antioxidants to the table, and they do it while staying firmly in low potassium territory, generally landing under 150 milligrams per half cup serving. Combined with low sodium and low phosphorus, that profile keeps them broadly appropriate across the full spectrum of kidney health stages, including for people managing dialysis. The specific compounds doing the heavy lifting here are anthocyanins, the same family of anti-inflammatory polyphenols we just talked about in Tart cherries, though blueberries bring their own distinct concentration and mechanism. Research on regular berry consumption, as little as roughly 3 servings a week of blueberries or strawberries, has been associated with meaningful reductions in cardiovascular risk markers, and that matters more for kidney health than most people realize. Here's the connection. Cardiovascular disease and kidney disease share overlapping inflammatory pathways, and in practice, they tend to progress together. Protect one, and you're very often protecting the other. For adults over 60, where cardiovascular concerns and kidney concerns frequently show up as a package deal rather than separate issues, a single dietary addition that supports both systems at once, without adding potassium burden, is exactly the kind of efficient win a kidney-conscious diet should be looking for. What to do? A half-cup serving of blueberries makes an ideal bedtime portion, enough to deliver a real dose of anthocyanins without pushing your potassium intake for the evening. Fresh, frozen, or freeze-dried blueberries all retain their antioxidant content well, so pick whichever is easiest to keep stocked. Bedtime fruit number 3, strawberries. Fruit number 3 is one of the sweetest, most universally loved options on this entire list, and conveniently, it's also one of the most kidney compatible. Strawberries bring vitamin C, manganese, folate, and a strong antioxidant profile, all while staying remarkably low in calories, about 28 calories per half cup serving. On the potassium front, strawberries come in around 130 milligrams per half cup, one of the lowest figures of any fruit on this list, which is part of why they show up so consistently as an option appropriate even for people managing more advanced kidney conditions, including those on hemodialysis or peritoneal dialysis. Research looking at dietary strawberry supplementation has found measurable increases in plasma antioxidant capacity and glutathione levels, both markers of reduced oxidative stress in the body. That matters specifically for kidney health because oxidative stress is considered one of the primary drivers behind the progression of chronic kidney disease over time. Anything that helps counter that process, especially something as simple and enjoyable as a bowl of strawberries, deserves a spot in your evening routine. Strawberries also contribute small amounts of natural melatonin precursors and tryptophan. It's not at the concentrated level you get from Tart cherries, but as part of a light evening snack, it contributes to an overall calming, sleep-supportive effect. What to do? Half a cup of fresh or frozen strawberries, rinsed just before eating to preserve maximum freshness and nutrient content. If you want to turn this into a more complete evening snack, pair the strawberries with a small serving of plain, unsweetened yogurt for a satisfying, kidney-conscious combination. Bedtime fruit number 4, apples. Fruit number 4 is the one you can find in literally any grocery store in the country, and it's also one of the most underestimated fruits on this list. Apples are rich in fiber and antioxidants, while staying low in potassium, phosphorus, and sodium, making them one of the more universally accessible, kidney-friendly fruit choices available. Here's a detail most people miss entirely. Eating the peel gives you somewhere between 2 and 6 times the antioxidant power compared to eating just the flesh alone. If you've been peeling your apples out of habit, that's likely where most of the fruit's real benefit was going straight into your compost bin. For adults over 60 managing both kidney health and blood sugar concerns, an extremely common combination, the blood sugar stabilizing effect of a whole apple before bed has genuine practical value. The fiber in the apple slows how quickly glucose gets absorbed into your bloodstream, which helps reduce the overnight blood sugar swings that can complicate kidney function over time. There's also a lesser-known kidney stone connection worth knowing about. Adequate hydration paired with citrate-supportive foods is understood to help prevent the most common type of kidney stone, calcium oxalate stones. Apples contain malic acid, a compound tied to citrate metabolism in the body, which contributes to a more alkaline urine environment, generally considered more protective against stone formation than an acidic one. What to do? 1 medium apple, peel on, eaten slowly as part of your wind-down routine. Since the peel carries the majority of the fiber and antioxidant content, peeling the apple removes most of what makes it valuable in the first place. If you enjoy the flavor, a light dusting of Ceylon cinnamon pairs beautifully and brings its own blood sugar supportive benefits that stack nicely on top of the apple's natural fiber effect. Bedtime fruit number 5, grapes. Fruit number 5 surprises a lot of people the first time they hear it, because grapes don't usually get mentioned in kidney health conversations at all. But they consistently show up on low potassium fruit lists, grouped alongside apples, blueberries, cranberries, pears, pineapple, raspberries, and strawberries, well below the higher potassium category that includes bananas, cantaloupe, oranges, and kiwi. The star compound in grapes is resveratrol, a polyphenol concentrated specifically in the skin of red and purple grapes, alongside a broader family of flavonoids responsible for their deep color. That same red and purple pigmentation is associated with a reduced risk of blood clot formation, a genuinely relevant benefit for kidney patients who tend to carry elevated cardiovascular risk alongside their kidney concerns. Here's a practical detail that matters more than it sounds like it should. Grapes can be frozen and eaten as a cool, satisfying snack for people managing fluid restrictions. If you're one of the many kidney patients who has to watch daily fluid intake closely, finding a hydrating, satisfying option that doesn't add meaningful fluid volume can be surprisingly difficult. A small handful of frozen grapes solves that problem elegantly. They take longer to eat, feel refreshingly cold, and deliver real antioxidant value without the fluid load of a glass of water or juice. What to do? A small handful of red or purple grapes, roughly half a cup, as a bedtime snack. If you're managing fluid restrictions, freeze them first and eat them slowly to make the most of the cooling, satisfying effect. Red and purple varieties consistently outperform green grapes in resveratrol and anthocyanin content, so reach for those when you have the choice. Bedtime fruit number 6, raspberries. Fruit number 6 may be the highest fiber option on this entire list relative to its size. And fiber turns out to matter for kidney health in ways most people never connect. A half-cup serving of raspberries delivers roughly 4 grams of fiber, about double what you'd get from most other fruits at the same serving size. That fiber content supports kidney health through two distinct pathways worth understanding. First, fiber feeds the beneficial bacteria living in your gut. Those bacteria, in turn, produce short-chain fatty acids that help reduce systemic inflammation throughout your body, the same chronic, low-grade inflammation that drives kidney disease progression over time. There's a growing body of research connecting gut microbiome health directly to the pace of chronic kidney disease progression, which makes a high-fiber, low-potassium fruit like raspberries genuinely strategic, not just a nice-to-have. Second, fiber slows how quickly your body absorbs everything else you eat alongside it, including phosphorus from other foods in your evening meal. Since phosphorus management is one of the core, ongoing challenges in a kidney-conscious diet, eating a fiber-rich fruit alongside or shortly after dinner can create a modest but meaningful protective buffer against post-meal phosphorus spikes. What to do? Half a cup of fresh or frozen raspberries as a bedtime snack. Frozen raspberries are often more budget-friendly and nutritionally just as complete as fresh ones. For an especially effective combination, mix them with a portion of Tart cherries to stack multiple kidney-supportive benefits into one bowl. Bedtime fruit number 7, pineapple. Fruit number 7 tends to surprise people the most because it's acidic, tropical, and doesn't fit the mental picture most of us have of a kidney-protective food. But pineapple consistently earns its place on low-potassium fruit lists for kidney patients, with a typical serving landing at about half a cup of fresh fruit or juice. What makes pineapple particularly interesting is bromelain, a natural enzyme found specifically in fresh pineapple with documented anti-inflammatory properties. Bromelain has been studied for its potential to help reduce inflammatory markers in the body, and since chronic inflammation is one of the central drivers of kidney disease progression, a naturally occurring anti-inflammatory compound that fits comfortably within a kidney-conscious eating pattern is genuinely worth knowing about. There's also a practical sleep angle here. Fresh pineapple contains tryptophan, the same amino acid precursor to serotonin and melatonin that shows up in several of the other fruits on this list. It's not a sedative effect by any means, but as part of an evening routine, it contributes to a more natural, gradual wind down. One detail that makes a real difference: fresh pineapple retains dramatically more bromelain than canned pineapple, which is typically heat processed in a way that destroys most of the enzyme's activity. If the anti-inflammatory benefit is what you're after, fresh is the version that actually delivers it. What to do? Half a cup of fresh pineapple, cut into chunks or spears, as a light evening snack. Choose fresh over canned whenever it's available. Bedtime fruit number 8, cranberries, the one with the catch. This is the fruit I asked you to stick around for, and the catch is a real one, not a gimmick to keep you watching. Cranberries have been associated with kidney and urinary tract health for decades, and there is genuine research behind that reputation. But there are two specific things that almost every video covering cranberries gets wrong, or at least leaves out, and I want to give you the complete, honest picture on both. Here's the first piece. Cranberry products may help lower the overall risk of recurrent urinary tract infections in women who have already experienced previous UTIs. The proposed mechanism involves compounds in cranberries called proanthocyanidins, which appear to make it harder for certain bacteria to attach to the bladder wall in the first place. That prevention angle is real, though the supporting evidence is generally described as modest and somewhat inconsistent across different studies. Not a guaranteed fix, but a legitimate, evidence-backed piece of a broader prevention strategy. Here's the second, more important piece, and it's the one people skip past constantly. Cranberry products do not treat an existing infection. If you already have a urinary tract infection or a kidney infection, cranberries are not a substitute for medical treatment, and no amount of cranberry juice is going to resolve an active infection on its own. If you suspect you have one, that's a conversation with your doctor, not a shopping trip. Now here's the catch specific to kidney health that almost nobody mentions. Raw cranberries are extremely tart, genuinely difficult to eat plain, which is exactly why almost nobody eats them that way. Instead, most people reach for cranberry juice cocktails, sweetened dried cranberries, or flavored cranberry supplements marketed heavily around urinary and kidney health. And here's the problem. Those products are very often loaded with added sugar. Sugar-sweetened beverages, broadly, are linked to an increased risk of kidney disease over time, which means a cranberry juice cocktail marketed directly at kidney health can simultaneously be working against the very organ it claims to support, simply because of how much sugar has been added to make it palatable. The actual benefit lives in the unsweetened, whole cranberry, not in the sweetened version sitting on most grocery store shelves. One additional caution worth flagging. There is some conflicting research on whether cranberry products interact with the blood thinner warfarin. If you're on a blood thinner, mention regular cranberry use to your pharmacist before turning it into a nightly habit. What to do? Choose unsweetened 100% cranberry juice, unsweetened dried cranberries in small portions, or raw or frozen whole cranberries. Skip cranberry juice cocktails and sweetened cranberry supplements entirely. And if you suspect an active UTI or kidney infection, see a doctor. Cranberries are prevention support, not treatment. The Bedtime Kidney Bowl. Now that you have all 8 fruits, here's a simple combination you can put together tonight without any special preparation. Take a small bowl, add half a cup of Tart cherries, a handful of blueberries, and 3 to 4 fresh strawberries. That single bowl gives you phytomelatonin for sleep support and nighttime blood pressure regulation, a strong dose of anthocyanins for anti-inflammatory kidney protection, vitamin C for immune and tissue support, fiber for gut health and phosphorus moderation, and a potassium load low enough to be broadly appropriate across kidney health stages. No supplements, no prescriptions, no complicated prep work. Just 3 research-supported fruits in a bowl, eaten 30 to 60 minutes before bed. If you want a liquid component alongside it, a small glass of unsweetened tart cherry juice pairs naturally with this combination and rounds out what is, realistically, one of the more evidence-supported whole food bedtime routines available for kidney-conscious eating. When to call your doctor. Every fruit on this list is broadly recognized as kidney-friendly in general nutrition guidance, but general is not the same as individual. If you're managing an advanced stage of chronic kidney disease, stage 4 or 5, your potassium and phosphorus limits may be strict enough that even these lower potassium fruits need to be tracked carefully within a specific daily allowance. Your kidney dietitian is the only person who can tell you exactly how much of any of these fruits fits your personal dietary plan. In earlier stages of kidney disease, there's often no need for strict potassium limits unless your blood levels are already elevated. In later stages, though, a doctor or kidney dietitian may recommend a tighter approach. If you're over 60 and haven't had a kidney function check recently, that's worth requesting at your next appointment. A basic metabolic panel covering creatinine, estimated GFR, and your electrolyte levels, including potassium, gives you 4 numbers that, together, paint a clear starting picture of where your kidneys currently stand. You genuinely can't make well-informed dietary decisions for your kidneys without knowing those numbers first. A story from my practice. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Eleanor, 72 years old, managing stage 2 chronic kidney disease alongside 2 secondary concerns: poor sleep and recurrent urinary tract infections. When we sat down and reviewed her diet together, I noticed she had cut out almost all fruit, not out of bad judgment, but out of a completely reasonable fear that had gotten over-applied. She'd absorbed the message that fruit means potassium, and potassium means risk, and had taken that logic further than it needed to go. In doing so, she'd accidentally eliminated her single biggest dietary source of antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds, and sleep-supportive nutrients from her evening routine entirely. We rebuilt her evening fruit intake together, guided by exactly the kind of low-potassium, kidney-conscious fruit list we've walked through in this video. Tart cherries before bed for sleep support and overnight blood pressure regulation. Blueberries and strawberries for daily antioxidant coverage. Unsweetened whole cranberries 3 times a week, specifically for UTI prevention support. Within 6 weeks, her sleep had noticeably improved. Her UTIs, which had been showing up almost monthly, hadn't recurred in over 2 months. And at her next quarterly kidney function check, her markers had held steady, which was exactly the realistic near-term goal we were aiming for at her stage of kidney disease. What she told me at her follow-up visit stuck with me. She said the biggest surprise wasn't the physical improvement, it was how the whole thing felt. Instead of another restriction on top of an already restrictive diet, the bedtime fruit bowl felt like something she was actively adding to her health, rather than one more thing being taken away. And that shift in mindset made the routine far easier to stick with than any purely restriction-based change she'd tried before. Everything in this video is educational content based on published nutrition research and general kidney health guidance. It is not personalized medical advice, and it isn't a substitute for the care you receive from your own physician or kidney dietitian. If you're managing advanced chronic kidney disease, currently on dialysis, taking blood thinners, or have been given specific dietary restrictions by your care team, always check with them before adding any new food into a regular habit. Your action plan for tonight. Here's exactly what to do, starting tonight. Tart cherries, half to 1 cup of sour or Montmorency variety, or unsweetened tart cherry juice, 30 to 60 minutes before bed. Blueberries, half a cup, fresh or frozen, as a nightly snack. Strawberries, half a cup, around 130 milligrams of potassium per serving, broadly appropriate across kidney disease stages. Apple, 1 medium apple, peel on, for fiber, blood sugar stability, and antioxidants. Grapes, a small handful of red or purple varieties, frozen if you're managing fluid restrictions. Raspberries, half a cup, the highest fiber fruit on this list, supporting gut health and inflammation control. Pineapple, half a cup of fresh pineapple only, for bromeline's anti-inflammatory benefit. Cranberries, unsweetened only, for UTI prevention support. Check with your pharmacist first if you take warfarin. Start tonight by building the simple bedtime bowl using fruits 1, 2, and 3. Then introduce the remaining fruits one at a time over the following week, so you can pay attention to how your body responds to each one. If you're planning to build the bedtime kidney bowl tonight, tell me in the comments which 3 fruits you're starting with. I read every single one of them. If this is the kind of well-sourced, honest information you want more of, go ahead and subscribe. I put out a new video every week covering what the research actually says about kidney health and healthy aging after 60. I'm Dr. James Revealio, and my next video covers 5 everyday drinks that are quietly raising your creatinine, including one that's marketed specifically as a health drink. I'll see you there.